Hey everyone, it's just me today. Thanks so much for tuning in and taking the time to check out the Glow Phase with Your Balance podcast and our YouTube channel as well. Just dropping a few thoughts for you today as Daniel is busy and I am sounding a bit sick, so as you might hear, I'm a bit congested. So I've actually picked up COVID-19. That's still a thing, so I've been a bit under the weather. So a quick one from me today, and actually taking some time to reflect back on a podcast that Daniel and I put together a few weeks ago around confrontation, and how each of us have been sort of exploring this idea of confrontation and thinking about it in different ways, where I kind of presented quite an aggressive sort of position to Daniel, where I'd rather be on the front foot and be, if someone's going to confront me, then I'll confront them back and take that position. Whereas Daniel was, I think, happier to, sometimes do that level of confrontation, but also take a step back and listen and try to absorb and maybe even wish the best for someone if he could. Now, an interesting situation came up just last week where I was sort of put into a situation that was quite confronting very quickly, and it actually happened, funnily enough, to be about my car again. It's always about where I sort of how I drive and where I park my car, clearly a reoccurring theme. So I actually was dropping my daughter off at my parents' house last Wednesday, and I went to pull into the driveway, and this old couple was just about to walk past the driveway. So I sort of stopped, let them walk past, and pulled into the driveway. Now, the driveway does technically cut across a footpath, but I sort of pull into the driveway far enough to where I think, look, it's not too bad for someone to walk around the car. There's a bit of space. But as I sort of turned the car off and looked out my window, there was this old man looking at me, probably 10 meters away or so, but giving me a death stare from far away. And I instantly knew what he was looking at me about, and the fact that I had parked my car in the driveway, technically over the footpath. So I opened the door, and he started yelling at me. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember my response to him was like, look, mate, don't make this a big deal. Look at the beautiful sunny day around you. Just go and enjoy your walk. Which seemed to escalate things with him pretty quickly. Now, mind you, that wasn't my reaction the last time that someone else had told me where to park my car in the driveway. Last time I was quite confrontational and spoke back and arced back at them and sort of, pushed back, if you will. And today I wasn't really feeling it. Today I don't think that day I just didn't want to get into a confrontation. I knew what this was going to do to me. I knew that I'd have to think about this and process this and emotionally deal with someone yelling at me like him. And effectively I didn't want to deal with it. I effectively told him, look, just go away. Don't make this a big deal. Enjoy your day. Have a nice day. Enjoy the walk and carry on with your day. And again, it seemed to really upset him. So much so, he started calling me a selfish cunt, and I won't say the word, but for some reason I got labelled within about a minute of talking to this gentleman a selfish cunt for the simple act of parking my car in a driveway and telling him to go and have a nice day and enjoy the walk. Now, I'm not sure that my actions warranted that kind of a response, but maybe he was having a bad day. So who knows? Maybe I was the cherry on top of a ice cream sundae of a pretty shit morning for him. So he felt he needed to let me have it. And my posture was a bit defeated to him. I was sort of hunching over and bending down as if like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is where this is going. He even proceeded further to sort of say, look, you selfish cunt, did you know children are going to die because you've parked your car in the driveway like that? Indicating that kids need to walk around my driveway, walk around my car on the driveway, and in doing so they're going to walk on the road and a car's going to hit them. So I'm a selfish cunt because kids are going to die from where I've parked my car. Now, it is admittedly a bit far-fetched as what this guy's saying. I don't think that kids are going to die, and I pretty don't think I'm a selfish cunt for parking my car in a driveway that my parents have paid for, and effectively that's a driveway. It's where cars go, and I've asked people to sort of take 2 steps around my car. But the point is, I was very upset by the whole situation. I didn't confront him, I didn't push back, I let him have his day, let him say the things he wanted to say. He walked away saying, if your car's still here in 5 minutes, I'm going to walk right over it. Started threatening the car. It left a really bad taste in my mouth, and I think reflecting on it, I started thinking about how I'd want to respond if it happens again, and thinking about the fact that the last time someone told me where to park my car in the driveway, I gave it to them, and that made me feel a lot better. So I was thinking about how I could respond more aggressively to him and tell him where he stands. I mean, I'm a 30-year-old guy. I'm not too big and too strong, but I can fit and I can carry myself, and I can pretty much, I'm sure I can defend myself against a 7-year-old feeble man. So I could be physically threatening to him. I'd run situations in my mind for a few days after around, okay, if I see him again, I'm going to tell him where to go, and I'm going to tell him, come at me and do something about it, which is a really mature thing to say, right? But I kept processing it over and over and over again in my head, and I couldn't quite figure out how to come to a conclusion with this confrontation, that would better humanity. And I always think, I'm a big believer in our responsibility to take chaos and turn it into order, as Jordan Peterson would say, to confront the dragon. This man was a dragon in my life, fundamentally, I may be over dramatizing it, but he really did bother me. It really did sat in my mind for a few days. So how can I best take chaos and turn it into order? Well, now, what is order in this situation? Well, the order in this situation is effectively teaching this man a lesson, so to speak, or effectively helping this man learn how to deal with, someone who is doing something that he doesn't like. I'm actually helping this man, deal in confrontation, making sure that no one else. I think effectively this is what it came to. When how do you create order out of the situation? Well, how can you make sure that no one else gets yelled at in the same way that I did? And that was how I was kind of processing it in my head. So there's a responsibility then on the individual, on me, to engage in the situation next time and take a different stance. And so I ummed and ahed about how to do that. And it was about a week later that I was just sitting there reading a book, trying to get my mind off it. And I read a book. In the book, the author mentioned Nelson Mandela and him as a leader. And I thought, geez, that's a guy who surely knew how to deal with confrontation, who surely knew how to, look at someone who, hated him and progress the conversation in the right direction. And what did he have to say about confrontation? And effectively, Nelson Mandela said, look, you need to learn to respect each other first, and before you do that, and before you learn to understand each other, then you can't make any progress. And so I think that changed, Nelson Mandela. You think about as well how when the African American movement, Martin Luther King, in the 50s and 60s around equality and breaking segregation in the States, what was their how did they sort of counteract the violence and the negativity and the just the hatred that was against them? Well, typically it was in non-violent ways. They were non-confrontational. They stood their ground. They took their beating and they moved forward. But they got what they wanted in the end. Nelson Mandela, the same thing. That man spent 25 years plus in a prison, waiting for his opportunity. And when he had his opportunity, he embraced people who would have put him in jail, would have killed him 10, 15 years before. Sorry, man. The COVID kicked in then. So what does that mean? So what that means when I'm talking to my friend, in the street who's calling me a selfish CUNC, then it's not about getting angry back at him. It's about trying to set the scene that we're both humans and we're both trying to get a level of respect out of each other, and we both need a a resolution that if we can't figure this out in a local area, in some suburb in the middle of Sydney, Australia, if we can't figure out how a way to make peace, then what chance do we have on a global scale to make peace? So the way I think I'm going to approach the situation, and I'll come back and tell everyone how I go with it, is I'm going to park my car in the driveway every week, and hopefully I get to see him again. And what I want to do is I want to step out of the car. I want to acknowledge him and give him an opportunity. Say, hey, if you want me to move my car and change my behavior, this is what you're going to need to do. And I'm going to give him an opportunity to solve his problem. Effectively, he needs to apologize for calling me a selfish CUNT because I don't believe I've warranted that. So he needs to show me a level of respect that I think I deserve and engage me as a human being. That's the second thing he needs to do. Talk to me respectfully. Tell me articulately what you want from me. Don't just stand there and yell at me and call me names. And I think the point there is when you're having the confrontation, get each other on the same level. Both of you are human beings. Both of you have viewpoints. Both of you have emotions and things that get you angry, and getting each other on the same playing field and showing a level of respect to the other person, I think is one of the crucial steps that Nelson Mandela must have implemented and did implement in getting his message across, in getting his outcome in situations. So I intend to do that. I intend to set the ground rules. If he threatens to get violent, I'll threaten to call the police. And I don't want to get violent back at this man. It's not a good outcome for me. That never looks good. A 30-year-old man having to get violent against a 67-year-old guy. Like, that's never going to be a good outcome for me. It's not what I want, and that doesn't help the situation. So set a level of respect, find a compromise, and you know what? If the compromise is me ending up having to not park my car in the driveway some days, then so be it. But at least in that situation, I will have taken some chaos and turned it into order. Because maybe the next time something that pisses that man off confronts him, he's gonna think twice before he calls that person a selfish cunt. He might actually show that person a level of respect, and maybe in that situation, maybe it's a bigger deal, maybe something more serious is happening. He's going to be able to de-escalate the situation and be able to move forward towards a resolution that works for him and the person aside from him. And in that sense, that's bringing some order to the situation. So I'll keep you posted. Hopefully I run into my friend again sometime soon, and I get to learn how to deal with confrontation in a way that's really constructive and brings, goodness to the world. Not more confrontation, not more evil, not more anger, but brings some peace. That's me for today, signing off. Hope you enjoyed today, and hopefully Daniel and I get to catch up next week and start to speak about failure, which we've been speaking about for a few weeks now. So take care, and thanks so much for taking the time to listen.